Welcome back to the Property Power Couple with Colton and Haleigh, providing comfort and confidence to your real estate experience.
Yes.
How's your mind today?
It's foggy outside,
It's a little
so
foggy,
my brain's a little foggy as well.
Yeah, it doesn't help.
The winter depression, I feel, is
Seasonal affective disorder?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's very real. It's dark
it
at
is.
4:30. It's cold.
Yeah.
The sun's not out.
Well, and it's not fair. I mean, in Texas, I know we only get cold sometimes.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, our house, it's been killing me because it's like,
It's
we
been
turn the
so
heater
funny.
on, but like, why is the heater on?
Yes.
But it's cold, but it's not cold.
in our big open area.
It's a weird,
is,
it's
yeah.
an awkward situation.
It is, and it's just kind of ooey, and so my mindset hasn't necessarily been
Yeah.
un-ooey.
Yeah.
It's been hard to keep everything in that focused, success-driven mindset and I know it sounds kind of silly with like the seasonal depression and stuff, but I mean, it's been, the school schedules are all off, and then we had the fake ice age down here, and
Right.
we didn't really get it. North got it at a time, but we didn't really, and then that threw a wrinkle and everything, and
Yeah.
getting into a new system, and you have new goals, and it's like, the goal reset in January whenever it's freezing and you don't want to get out of bed, but I have these massive goals to hit. It's hard to keep that mindset.
So, I have some thoughts, but I want to pitch the question
Okay.
to you, and then it'll circle back to me, and I'll tell you my thoughts. But from getting out of that type of mindset, right? Of like, I just don't want to do the push-ups today.
Yeah, push-ups are hard.
What are you doing to kind of shake that loose and change that up?
I need to be doing more.
Oh,
Okay.
Fair enough.
But I mean, my biggest thing is I have you who's sitting over there, like literally shaking me and saying, snap out of it, let's go.
Yeah.
And, I think that is a big factor, whether it's your spouse or a business partner, whoever it is, who can read you and tell you, hey, you need to snap out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, we got a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
And, having that person is hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
And once you find it, you have to listen when they speak
you're
up.
incredibly blessed, let's be honest.
I am.
Gratitude.
Look at this.
major.
I am incredibly blessed. I am. I'm very lucky. I'm very spoiled. I say that all the time, not just from you and like the fact that for the first, 9 months of my car, I didn't know inside the gas tank was on. Okay, I am very spoiled.
I still see you kind of question it.
I have to question it. I have to look at the little arrow all the time. But, I'm very spoiled. But when you have somebody that can say that to you, like, it's time to snap out of this, like, we got to go, you have to listen.
Yeah.
And that's equally as hard to realize, like, oh my goodness, you're right. My mind isn't there. I'm letting all these other factors control my feelings and my work when those are outside of my control.
Yeah.
Or we made a plan for it and I'll let the plan work.
Yeah.
And when someone speaks up and says, hey, you got to get out of this funk, you have to be able to listen to that and say, all right, let's shift the mindset.
Yeah. Well, I think it's so important, even, like, we're married, obviously, and so there's an interesting balancing act that occurs, right? Because I have Haleigh, wife, who's amazing, beautiful, intelligent, smart, all the things, right? And then I have Haleigh, business partner, who's still all of these things, but also finding that way to speak to both at the same time and compartmentalize one over the other and meet those needs. But I think just as a general human idea, the things that the people we're around obviously matter, and you hear that all the time. And I think we've even said it on the podcast that the 5 people you spend the most time around influence you, and even down to the content that you're taking in.
Yeah, what are you listening to? What are you reading? What are you watching?
I can tell there are moments where I have gone, ooh, why is that? Why am I so negative right now?
Oh my God, remember that one time you didn't have your AirPods in, I guess they died, and you were listening to somebody that's like doomsday to the max, and I was so upset that whole day because I really thought that like everything was about to shut down again. We're gonna all die. Everything's gonna end. And I was like, oh my goodness, because I was listening to what you were listening to.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
But you didn't tell me.
No, it wasn't until afterwards. I think it was somebody. It's irrelevant. But afterwards, I said, "Oh, hey, by the way, this guy's he comes in a little hot.
Yeah.
And he lands way over here on the spectrum. Reality is somewhere near there, but usually doesn't end up as apocalyptic as it sounds."
Yeah, but it had me so negative for that hour and a half afterwards, and I didn't really know why I was so upset.
Yeah.
And so in this like, oh my goodness, what is gonna happen? And do we even need to go into the office today, or should we go buy a bomb shelter? Like, I don't know what to.
Maybe some guns.
I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
And I remember you called Drew laughing at me, but it was funny because you said, "Hey, I was listening to whoever," and Drew's dying, and he's like, we don't let the women listen to that one.
There should be disclaimers on all
there
that.
There needs to be, hey, this is the worst of it. But it proves your point completely that what you're listening to, what you're consuming, has a direct impact on your mindset for that day.
Well, I mean, even think of something as silly as an example of a plant. If you pour, and there's all kinds of YouTube videos you can find on it, but you don't feed the plant good nutrients, the plant's gonna die, or it's gonna look a little sickly.
Or the ones like listen to happy music, like live longer than the ones listening to sad.
You whisper sweet nothing. I mean, like, these things matter, and we are living beings with souls, and if you're pouring in good stuff and good content, you're gonna see that bear out in your mindset and how you're approaching it.
I mean, all the way to like professional athletes have a walk-up song.
Well,
right? It's like get them in the zone to go destroy that game. Like go bring your best. This is your song. This is the thing that you said put you in the mood to dominate. And so, if you're not consuming the things that are putting you in that mindset, it's going to have an effect on you.
I think too, a lot of times, I think people equate mindset and motivation as the same. And they're really not, because motivation's gonna fade. It's temporary. You get that hit of dopamine. You're like pumped up. Yeah, I'm gonna make all my calls. I'm totally not an imposter.
Yes.
I am who I say I am.
I went to this conference, so I'm gonna do everything that they said to do.
That's what it is, right? You leave that conference and you're riding high, and you get home and you're like, man, what was I drinking?
That Kool-Aid was good, and I don't know where they made it. I can't get any more today. And that motivation starts to slip. But your mindset.
You get that mindset right. And motivation's great. And I think conferences are great. I think getting poured good into you is absolutely
we are
vital.
Avid Kool-Aid drinkers.
No, it's tasty.
Give it to me. Like, I want to go to the conference. I want to get the energy. I want all that goodness to rub off on me. But then it's when your mindset comes in, when you get back in the office. And what are we going to do with all that?
Well, and two, it's right, the execution of it, putting it into practice and having a practical application in your life and business. And I think one of the big things is like those phone calls, right? When I think about barriers to my own business, our own business, bringing in new owners, bringing in new buyers and sellers, even agents, you get on that phone, and it's like the moment of truth, right? Is when you've done all this prep work, you listen to the motivational video, you put on
Had
the
your
song.
walk-up song on,
you're
ready.
Like, oh yeah, it's about to happen. And then you pull out the phone and you start to dial the numbers, and there's this small little voice that's like, they're gonna totally tell you to go play, to not call them again, call you names, curse at you, whatever. And I'm curious from your standpoint, right? I know we're being funny, but that's a real thing, right? That call avoidance, the call reluctance of, I don't want to dial this number. What are some of the things that you do or have been coached on or done to kind of get through that? Just dial the number.
This morning, actually, Tracy sent me a reel, and it was hilarious. And it was like me reminding myself that making phone calls is not the same as running through the woods from a murderer. I can handle this. It is not the same. And I just thought that was hilarious, because it's like we get that fear of rejection. All that stuff plays in hard. And one, you got to push through it. And like, there is not a secret sauce to making every person on the other end of the line say, yes, I would love to buy something with you. When you're calling the right people, it gets easier. When you're calling for the right reasons, I'm checking in on you. Do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell? Or, hey, next time you're at book club, next time you're at church, next time you're in the office and you hear anybody say real estate, and they say, oh yeah, I always share your name.
Right.
You say, great, next time share their name with me and I can make sure that we get connected. So being able to call for the right reasons. Now, if you're calling an expired for sell by owner, more like, internet leads, like those are a little bit harder. You got to get, a little bit different mindset, but really just that, like, what like Edwin always says about, like, a gracious yes or a gracious no. I just want to get to it. Like, if you're not ready right now,
that's fine.
Let's just say that, and then I can adjust how I'm contacting you. And so if you know the goal of the call is to remind them that I'm open for referrals. The goal of the call is to see where they're at in their status. Do I need to be calling them once a week, once a month? Where are we at? The goal of the call is to get this answer. Then I'm not sitting there going, so, like, how's your dog? Like, how are things going? It's to the point. There are certain people that I can talk on the phone with forever. And there are certain people that, like, I don't want to be on the phone forever talking about this thing. Right? I would like to get to the point. And, when the goal is to communicate that I'm here for you, I'm ready to serve you. What does your time frame look like? Do you know anybody? When you know what the goal is, that call isn't so daunting and so, and I'm trying to get to the answer. All right, yes, are you ready, or no? And if they're like, well, I don't know, I just keep trying to dig. My goal is to get a yes or a no today. So, where are we at? So knowing that up front helps a lot.
Well, and I think a lot of it too comes back to really finding out what the need and the problem really is, right? That in many ways, I think we've always approached it from the mindset of we solve problems. Like, literally in property management, that's all we do.
That's like, as a broker, I'm a problem solver.
But as a broker, even as an agent, like, what we do is solve problems. Your problem is you need a bigger house. Your problem is you need to sell your house for top dollar. Your problem is whatever your problem is. And if we can uncover that need and really, really come through in that trust and the trust process, you end up at that end goal. And I think even looking at it from that vantage point, it automatically takes the transactional nature out of that conversation. And it's hard to separate the two, right? Because ultimately, like you're saying, gracious yes, gracious no, it can feel very, very binary in that situation of, I just need to get here. And the truth is, yes, and also in getting there, we're talking about relationship and conversation and really
and uncovering their needs. So, my goal is, like, where, like, what do they need today? Where can I help serve them?
Exactly.
And, is it the right time? No. What's going on? How can we help get you there? Is it that you need more time because you've only been at your job for 2 weeks? And we need to be there for longer to show the income. We need to pay stuff. Like, I probably have an answer. I've probably been through something like that where I can help from that vantage point.
Well, and I think too, even with all the vendors that we work with and the connections that we have, a lot of times in those conversations, it's not even, are you ready to buy right now? Like, please buy, please buy. It's like, no. I want to serve you. I want to provide you value, right? And, oh, you got a light that hasn't worked or a switch that won't work?
We have an electrician. Let's
John,
go.
So there's a lot of that going on. But I think the other thing, mindset-wise, that for agents, really, it's, you get into this scarcity idea that you see the Facebook posts, you see Instagram, you see all these people who are really out there, and it feels like they're just soaking up all the business and there's none left for me. Like, everybody's got a piece of the pie except for me. Mine's kind of, and I think that is something that people just have to just, like, address and get rid of.
There's enough to go around. Me and you don't have the exact same sphere. There are personalities that we want them working with you. There are personalities that we want them working with me. And they could even be married to each other. And we still,
that actually happens.
That happens a lot. But, not everyone is going to want to work with me. But there are a lot of people who do. And then they send more people because I prove myself. And then that cycle repeats. And so there is enough business to go around. Especially in our area. Look how much new construction is coming in. They aren't going to live there forever. Something's going to happen. jobs, more kids, all that stuff happens every day.
Yeah.
And when you get past that, oh, they've been doing it forever, I can never be like that person.
Right.
You're not that person.
Yeah.
You're you. And whenever you start remembering that you are the professional, you know what you're doing, you can provide that value.
Yeah.
You can articulate that value.
Yeah.
This morning I was listening to another podcast, and it was like, I really wish that people would stop saying that real estate agents are salesmen, because we are, but a car salesman doesn't need a license to go sell you that car. They have training and they do all that kind of stuff, but a lawyer needs a license to practice law.
Yeah.
A doctor, all of those, they need these licensing. Real estate agents have to have a license to practice real estate, and you go to prison if you're doing it without it. I mean, it's it's very dramatic, but it's true. And so when you stop thinking that you're just I don't want to sound salesy, I'm just a salesperson. No, you are a trusted real estate advisor that is about to go provide value to these people.
Yeah.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. And you got to get your mindset away from, I don't want to sound salesy, I don't want to sound like a salesman. You provide so much more value than that. And when you go through the trainings, you've gotten all the licensing, you know all this stuff. Go prove it.
Well, and I think even kind of to your previous point too, it's not it's not luck when you see these people who have been very successful in the industry.
No, they didn't
it is, unfortunately, right? It's not that you just like win the lottery. I'm sure there's somebody out there, I'm sure it's happened, where maybe they just are not great at their job, but they've just been really lucky. Absolutes, maybe it's.
I think we've gotten lucky in certain things. We worked really hard, we made the right decisions, and it really paid off. And maybe a little bit of luck helped us get a little bit farther.
That's fair. Well, luck is preparation meets opportunity.
Right.
And this idea that you don't just walk in and it's just handed to you.
No.
It is something that is built over time.
Yes.
And especially through some trials.
Yes.
Right? Some
you gotta mess up to learn from it, man. I mean,
some evolution.
No one stands up in front of, whatever conference you're at and says, I did everything perfectly, here's how I did it. Yeah. It's, hey, I made a massive mistake, learned a lot from it. I'm here to help you not make that same mistake.
Right.
And, it's hard when you look out, oh my goodness, they're having so much success. Maybe I should go over to that brokerage because, that brokerage on Facebook looks like they are just crushing it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how long have they been doing it? What do they do? What does their daily routine look like?
Yeah.
How did they get there? They didn't wake up and just real estate God said, you win.
Yeah. Here's all your money.
Go buy something. I heard too, are you sacrificing the right things to the real estate gods? Right? People get into real estate because they want all this freedom.
Right.
And then they're like, well, why didn't I hit 5 million last year?
That one hits me so in the feels though, because we have all the freedom, right? I had the freedom to drop Kinley off at school this morning and come home. And I could have gone back to sleep. But this idea that you just get to pick your schedule. It's like, but then I also showed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then wrote a contract in between dinner, and so it's like, yes and no. Yeah, you can't look at it through the same lens of like, I got in real estate for all this freedom. That person is so lucky because they got all this business and I'm not getting that business, they are. Right. And then it's like, okay, well, hold on. Success isn't luck. They worked for that. What could you give up to be there? Yeah. What do you need to shift in your mindset? Maybe it's not that, stop looking at it as all this freedom, start looking at it as a career and schedule things and go into the mindset that you're going to go to work today. Yeah. And then maybe that work will start coming to you. Yeah, you gotta hustle. You gotta do the push-ups. Yes, the push-ups are so hard. They are. They're so hard. They're not that hard. I said they are, I was like, yeah, I can't do push-ups. I can do push-ups. A lot of push-ups. I do a lot of them. Many push-ups. Kinley's on your back doing push-ups. I mean, yeah. I'm a really strong man. Yes, you are. But the push-ups and the daily activities are so easy to avoid. Oh, yeah. Well, and I think kind of in that idea of push-ups, if you've never done a push-up before and you do the first one, it's not that easy. Right? You've never done one. You've never done it or done anything. It's not easy. It's only hard till you learn it. right? Just like a good friend Michael would
Yeah.
always say, it's only hard till you learn it. And you said something too that made me think earlier. You said that you've got to make mistakes, and looking around and learning from other people's mistakes and figuring out, get you a mentor, get you a coach, really dig into what somebody else is already, the mines they've already stepped on is so huge, and it can propel you on that timeline to get to the place. But you still have to do the work.
Yeah, you can't.
You don't just get the knowledge and then go get a bag.
Right, and just because you heard that thing doesn't mean you're not going to make a similar mistake or a mistake in the same realm. But when you're surrounding yourself with those people, your coach, your accountability person, mentors, all of that stuff that we lean on heavily. Hey, we saw this coming. We were able to avert it a little bit because of all of our communication with you, but it's still here. So how do we deal with it? What expertise do you have to help me get through it? Yeah. Mistakes are not avoidable. You can't just get coached and trained straight out of them. Something's going to happen. Yeah. There are no two real estate transactions that went the exact same way.
No.
And so if you're like, from that, like, I don't want a mundane everything, none of these are the same. But the basics are not even the forms, especially in the recent changes. But if you will just like surround that, understand that they're going to happen, get your mind right that like you're going to learn from these, and I can promise you, things that happened to us last month aren't going to be happening to us again.
Yeah.
Because we learned that by forgetting to ask one question, this entire snowball thing happens.
Yeah.
By thinking I asked a question, but it wasn't heard, or by not reiterating the question, and all of those things happened.
Yeah.
And for real estate, that means a big commission is at the end of it.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't come, that's hard.
Or you get the good old-fashioned commissionectomy.
And you have to pay for that mistake.
You got to pony up because you screwed something
and,
up.
And it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that is just part of it. But our checklists, our processes, our procedures are constantly being updated because a scenario that we went through, we learned from, we were able to change it, readjust, and keep going. When we get stuck in that mistake, that's when your mind starts to drain. Your mindset just drains.
Yeah. And
you can't get stuck in the mistake.
When I used to say, I'm going to stop saying that the only thing that I want in life is options, because I think I want to change it to one of the only things I want in life is options, and the other is to only learn a mistake once. Because when I think about those setbacks, when something bad happens, which it's life, it's just the nature of the beast, right? But when something bad happens, I usually take a little bit of time, and not a lot of time, but like I'll set, if it's really bad, you take a set amount of time, and I'm gonna sit in this for a minute, kind of ruminate a little bit, figure out why I'm mad, what's going on, and then once that time is up, you go, okay, we're done here. What's the lesson to be learned? What's the way to avoid this in the future? And how can we put a stopgap in place so that we don't end up back in this hole?
Yeah, you're allowed to have a pity party.
Yeah.
I mean, it is okay. It is okay to be upset about something. It is okay to be emotional about something. It's a big deal. People are trusting you with this massive investment. You made a mistake, they made a mistake, communication wasn't clear, something's gonna happen, and you are allowed to be upset for a minute.
Yeah.
And like you said, if that's, I'm gonna take 5 minutes and just be mad. And maybe I'm calling somebody to vent about it. Maybe I'm upset. Maybe I'm just like yelling at my husband for a minute. And then I'm like, okay, this is over.
Do you think 5 minutes is really, you think that's all?
I think it depends on the mistake.
Okay,
like if
fair.
I got a paper cut and it just like really upset me because whatever it is, that paper cut just made me so mad.
We don't use paper anymore. Because of that paper cut you had back 6 years ago.
Right.
And
But the scale, there's a scale there.
Yeah.
There are some mistakes that just wreck you.
Yeah.
And that's allowed.
Yeah.
Like, be upset. It's okay. And then, like we talked about at the very beginning, when that person says, all right, pity party's over.
Yeah.
Snap out of it. it's time to get your mind right. Let's go.
Put your shoes on.
It's time for you to hopefully have all these tools and all these things ready. And if you've had a vision, you have your goals, you know how to track everything, and you get back on that. And it's easy to get, you know, I'm not gonna track my calls, I'm not gonna track my appointments. Like, I know how many I went on, or I know how many I made. And then you get to the end of the week and your mindset is so jacked up because you're looking, what did I even do this week? And if you would have done the push-up of tracking your activities, you could have gone back and seen, I actually went on 4 appointments and I made 37 calls. That's not, okay, that's good. That's going to come back to me. So, you know, when you get in that funk, it's just, you got to get out of it. And when you go back to what was the goal? What tools am I supposed to be using? When am I supposed to be listening to? When am I going to be consuming? How am I going to get my mind back on that right track? And then it's just like everything else. Once you get back into it, it's easy to stay there. It's when you fall out that it's, you know, harder to get back in. And so when you get back into those habits and all that stuff, like your mindset can just drastically shift and go back to where you need it to be.
Absolutely. No, I think it's vitally important, and a lot of it too is being able to have that level of metacognition where you're able to think about what you're thinking, right? To be able to recognize it. Because for me, it almost like if I'm not, I find myself like in periods of time not paying attention, and then you're just sort of on autopilot.
What is like the average person's, like, goldfish is 7 seconds, people were 7 seconds, now they're 3 or something.
Social media has really helped us in that regard. But yeah, like being able to really realize what those signs are of, oh, why am I being so negative? Why is this hitting the way it's hitting is vitally important.
So mindset, let's listen.
Mindset.
Surround yourself with the right people, lean on those people, listen when they say, hey, it's time to shift. You got to get out of this. You know, when you trust those people with everything else, trust when they're telling you that you're in a bad spot.
And if you don't have someone, find someone.
Find someone, and then listen, and then focus on that mindset. Want your walk-up song, want something that you know, when I listen to this, I'm in a bad mood. When I listen to this, I'm in a good mood. And just, you know, find a way to stay right there in that.
We were driving home. I was bringing Kinley home from my parents' house the other night. I was so mad, and I honestly can't even remember what I was mad about. But I was in a place, and Kinley goes, "Hey, Dad." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Let's jam." Okay. So I put on I forget what is the name of that song? Praise, or it's by Elevation Worship. And put it on, and she's in the back and she's screaming, "Praise!" We're jamming. And we get the song done. I've been jamming with her, you know, we're flipping the car lights on and off and stuff. And we get done, and she goes, "Feel better, don't you?" And I'm like, dude.
When the almost 5-year-old.
When the almost 5-year-old can call you on your business, you know. And
you did. And you fixed that mindset.
There you go.
Thank you, Kinley.
Find the walk-up song.
Find the walk-up song.
Thank you all for coming by. BTRGPM.com. Next home on Main. Property Power Couple. See you later.